What's going on, fight fans, and welcome back to the Rusty Cage podcast. I am Ryan Jarrell. Greg Williams is not here today, but we have these two studs on the program. It's Brady Hiestand, Kurt Holobaugh, both coming off a couple of big wins recently, and we're going to dive into UFC Vegas 95 going down this weekend. But before we do, I want to talk to the both of you about your recent victories. Brady, let me start with you first, my man. Obviously, really big victory over Garrett. We seen the tape. Definitely some adversity there in that fight. He really came to the fight, and it was some back and forth there. So just run me through your overall thoughts on your performance here. Now that we're was it a month out now?
Yeah, I didn't realize this obviously walking out, but I was a big underdog coming out to that fight. I think he was like plus 200 or something like that. So I thought it was going to be a good fight. I thought I was going to be a little bit more dominant. I feel like I got in good positions in the first round and almost subbed him like 2 or 3 times. But then he caught me in the second and obviously like dropped me, which made the fight super interesting. But yeah, it was a good fight. I'm glad at least now I got like an exciting fight under my belt. Got my first submission in the UFC, which is crazy because I'm known as a grappler, but I got 2 TKOs. But now I can finally say I've subbed somebody, so I'm happy with it. It was fun. Plus, I got a little bonus, which is even better. So.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Anytime you get the bonus, that adds a little cherry on top. You mentioned, just how tough he was. I feel like sometimes early in your careers, some of you guys can get kind of slept on, and I feel like both of you, have such bright futures. Going in there against a tough opponent like Garrett, did you feel like, like you said, the odds were you were surprised you were an underdog, but did you feel like this fight was going to be kind of as gritty and tough as it turned out to be?
No, I thought it was gonna be a lot easier because I've seen him like wilt, like fade later in every round he fights and stuff, and that's when I like pick up the pace. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna be able to catch him if the first, if not the second. But like I had to wait till the third to finally get the finish. But like obviously he has a good resume. He just beat Brad Katona before he fought me, which I think he won on the same season that Kurt was on, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so that guy's kind of weird, but he's like super badass. Obviously wins a lot. And so the fact that he beat him by decision was pretty impressive.
Yeah, man. So I guess you could talk about maybe you being the Ultimate Fighter now. If you beat the guy that won the Ultimate Fighter, so that's got to be a nice feather in your cap, right?
Oh, for sure. And I actually I was trying to call for that the Katona fight because obviously Ricky's coming off a loss, the guy I lost to in the finale of my season, and so I was like, maybe let's go try to get like the guy that's won 2 of them. So in a roundabout way, I did beat him, but I actually wanted to go out and beat him because he's coming off a win too. But we'll see. I think he has a different opponent now.
Yeah, no, well, we'll see what the future holds. You talked about how he was kind of fading as the fight went along. Obviously he kept a really strong pace and kept the pressure on early. Did you feel him fading as you got into the third round? Did you, okay, this guy's tired, I'm going to be able to maybe get him out of here before the fight is over?
For sure, and I feel fatigued myself, but I can definitely feel he was fatiguing more than me. Even in that second round, like I felt like I got dropped, and it wasn't because I was tired. I got dominated because I got dropped, and then as soon as I got up, I went and took him down. And if any wrestlers know, when you like return someone to the mat, like I did kind of a suplex, he like splatted on the mat. Like before, if you're like ready to go, you hit the mat and you bounce back up, or you hit the mat and you start fighting right away. But when I lifted him and returned him for like the 3rd or 4th time in the fight, he like splatted and went like completely belly out. And I was like, oh, this guy's breaking a little bit. And so that was right at the second. And then I took his back, wasn't able to get the finish. But in the 3rd round, as soon as I grabbed him again, I knew he was done because it was easy just to throw him around.
It's such a fan-friendly fight. I know it's tough to look into the future and forecast, down the line, but I think it would make sense for you guys to rematch at some point down the line. Is that fair to say?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, if he wins the next fight, I know I'm going to keep winning. If that just happens to happen in the future, but I don't really see a point in us fighting any time in the near future. I beat him by sub. It wasn't like a close decision, like who won that. It was like I subbed him. And so that's a finish. That's pretty decisive. But if he comes back and he keeps winning, I'd be down to fight him in the future. But right now I'm kind of looking towards like one more win and then top 15 and trying to fight guys with names. I don't really want to keep making my own name just by fighting really great, which I will continue to do. But I want to go fight some big names and like make some noise here in the next couple fights.
Well, again, man, the future is bright. Can't wait to see you back in there. Before we transition to Kurt, I got to ask you this. I don't really want to ask you, but I feel like I have to because it's been so publicized. Talk about the fart a little bit. Garrett made it very clear that he let out I guess it was a silent but deadly one, right? Like, what was that like to kind of stay focused and not have to deal with that in the middle of the fight?
Well, I guess it wasn't so silent because I heard it, but it's definitely deadly because I smelt it. It was the weirdest thing ever that's happened to me in the fight. It's one of those, like if you've ever fought, like there's like times where like there's things that like take you out of the fight, like you're so focused on the fight itself, and then something like takes you out of it. And it was when I took him down in the first, I went to pass his legs, and as I passed his legs, he crop dusted me, and I heard it, and I'm like, it like took me out of the fight. I'm like, no way this dude just farted in my face. Like, what the fuck? This guy just farted in my face. And then a couple seconds later, I smelt it. I'm like, no way am I in a fight in the UFC and I'm smelling this dude's fart. And it was the weirdest thing ever. So then I just like loaded up and just punched him right in the face.
Kurt, has that ever happened to you, whether in a fight or in training where someone crop dusts you?
No, definitely never in a fight. Possibly could have happened in training, but never in a fight.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, it's funny the way that, Garrett was talking about it.
Yeah.
At least not that I know of.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Brady, last thing here from me. When can we expect to see you back in there next?
Yeah, so I just had nose surgery because ever since I was a kid, I've always had like really bad bloody noses. So I finally got that taken care of. I just got cleared like a couple days ago, so I'm ready to hop back into camp. I've been talking with my manager. Obviously, like I was saying, I was trying to call for that Brad Katona fight, but that didn't go through. And so, yeah, I'm just waiting to hear the call. I let him know a couple days ago I'm ready to go. So hopefully I get back in there October. Yeah, I'm shooting for October.
All right, man. Hopefully maybe that October 26th card, the huge pay-per-view, that would be a nice one to be on.
That would be nice. I haven't fought in a crowd since I've been in the UFC. It's all been Apex, 6 fights in Apex. So I'm looking to get back in front of a crowd for sure.
Okay, that's the one that they got to put you on then. No, you've earned it at this point. Kurt, congratulations.
Tell them.
Right, I will. We'll speak it loud here. Kurt, man, big win over Kanan. UD win 29-28 across the board. Having said that though, it was a close fight, right? I mean, it's not like you won all 3 rounds. How confident were you feeling before the judges, gave the decision to you?
I definitely confident. I thought the first round was definitely close. But I honestly thought for sure that I won the second and third round like pretty easily. So it wasn't even really a doubt in my mind. They would have raised his hand, I would have been completely.
I don't know if you saw, I'm sure you did. There was some, I guess, trash talk leading up to the fight. He said he vowed to make your family cry. Did you see that? Did that give you any added motivation going in against them?
I did. I had one of my coaches coach me like the day before. And I didn't even tell my wife, my kids, nothing. I said, I'm not worried about it. I was pretty confident in the fight. I figured I had a bunch of advantages over him. But yeah, I wasn't going to let him make my family cry for sure.
That's a weird thing to say to somebody. I want to make your family cry. What did you do to this dude? Why did you piss him off so bad?
Yeah, I never talked to him for a day of my life. Didn't really know him. Yeah, so like I was saying, I never had any actions with him. He don't speak English. He's a Brazilian guy, but maybe he watched some of my interviews because, like I said, I'm a big family man, and that's kind of my story and journey throughout the UFC is, my family. And I'm sure I did some interviews saying, I'm gonna have my family at the Apex and everything like that. So maybe that's when he's like, yeah, well, I'm gonna make his family cry. So
okay. That makes sense, right? I mean, obviously this is the fight game. So some trash talk like that, you hear that kind of stuff a lot. I mean, at this point in your career, Kurt, I don't think you need any more motivation to go in there and win. But obviously with your previous stints in the UFC, you just had that one win over Austin Hubbard, obviously winning the Ultimate Fighter. But was that kind of looming going into the fight? Like, okay, I got to get another win here. I got to really cement myself here in the division and make my mark here at lightweight and move forward.
Absolutely, 100%. I felt like I had a lot of pressure on my shoulders for this because I'm like, damn, man, am I really going to be the guy that just can't win in the UFC? So, but I definitely feel like, I've definitely turned things around. Of course, over the years, I've gotten better. I've gotten smarter. And yeah, I feel like I'm doing that. I feel like that was a big win over somebody that I really feel like the UFC has high hopes in is Kenya Krzyzewski. So I feel like that was a good win, especially, everybody's so high on the Fighting Nerds right now, and him being another guy coming from the Fighting Nerds team. So I feel like that was definitely a big win.
Yeah, no doubt, man. 30 seconds left in the fight. You had an RNC. How close was that? If you had maybe a little bit more time to adjust, what could you have done to maybe secure that RNC?
I don't know. I went for it. I just didn't have it underneath the chin, and there was no way I was going to let him turn back into me and me lose that position. So I just kept it back. I felt confident that I had won the fight. But I felt like if I could have been a little bit slicker, a little bit faster, I might have could have got it.
Well, again, man, big win. Happy to see you get your hand raised. What is next for you? When would you like to jump back in there? Do you have someone's name on your tongue you'd like to call out?
Man, I've always wanted to fight Trevor Peek. I know he's booked here soon against another guy that I'm pretty familiar with. I think it's Ashmoosh or something like that. Him, Charlie Campbell. I believe somebody was saying, what's his name? Chris Duncan, maybe. I don't know. All tough fights, but any one of those guys, I would love to do it right before Thanksgiving. That way I have Thanksgiving and Christmas off and be able to have a good holidays.
That is the perfect time frame, right? To fight again for any of you guys. You want to fight before Thanksgiving so you can enjoy the holidays, right?
For sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best timing.
It looks like Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, that fight, if it does happen, it might be that December 14th card in Las Vegas. Obviously, that's one of the biggest fight cards of the year to close out the year every year. Is that one that would kind of make you want to be like, okay, I'm training through the holidays. I really want to be on a Conor McGregor card or Michael Chandler, whatever it may be, two huge names. What are your thoughts on both of that, guys?
So yeah, I would. I've been dying to and been asking to be on the Chandler McGregor card since day one, and yeah, I think that's a good timing too because you still get to fight before Christmas, and then you still get to have a great Christmas. So I can suck it up through Thanksgiving, even though I love to eat, but it'll be worth it.
Obviously, with you being Team Chandler, that would be a big card for you to be on. What are your thoughts on that, Brady? Although you weren't on the Ultimate Fighter that same season, I mean, two huge names in the sport. When you hear that, does it kind of get your juices flowing to fight on a big pay-per-view like that?
Yeah, I think it's every fighter's dream to fight on the McGregor card. He's like literally the biggest name in the sport and has ever been in the sport. So that's for sure. But I thought they weren't going to fight anymore. Wasn't Conor like talking shit on Twitter? Like, you missed your turn now. Let's do the BMF against Holloway. Is that still a thing, or are they still fighting, or like what's going on there? Because they were supposed to fight forever ago. So I don't trust that it's actually going to happen. I don't know, but like it'd be kind of cool to see Conor fight Max Holloway. Although like Chandler deserves it, it would be kind of cool to see that.
Per any inside scoop here you can give us?
Not
I don't have
really.
any inside scoop.
Yeah, not
you
really.
said Kurt.
I don't know, man. I feel like the fight's gonna happen. I don't know. I think it would have definitely happened at what was it, 303, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then Conor hurt his pinky toe. So I feel like it's gonna happen. I feel like it has to happen, man. They did the show. It's been ongoing for almost 2 years now. Just let's go ahead and get this fight going, But yeah, if for some reason Chandler and Conor don't fight, Conor and Max would be crazy fight too.
Yeah, no doubt. Hopefully we do get to see Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler at some point soon. Sign me up for that. That's one the whole combat sports community really wants to see. Well, needs to say, guys, excited to see you both in the octagon next, whenever that may be. Let's transition to this weekend's card, UFC Vegas 95. Main event is Marcin Tybura, Serghei Spivac. Right now, Serghei minus 170 as your favorite. Marcin Tybura plus 145 as the dog. And when these guys fought before, you got to go back to right about when COVID started, early 2020. Spivac actually lost the fight. And I know both guys have evolved since, but it's interesting to see that flipped where, Tybura wins before and he's still the underdog as they're going into this fight. So let me start with you first, Brady. Do you think those odds are right, or do you feel like Tybura can pull the upset?
It's kind of hard to say, like, because they're both going to go out there probably and try to grapple. Like, Serghei is like a big grappler, obviously, and Marcin, obviously, what did he RNC'd Bam Bam, right? What's his name? Tai Tuivasa. So I feel like it's going to be like a grappling match, and I feel like the grappler that's going to win is probably Serghei. So I don't see it being wrong that it's that odds. How did it go their last fight? Did it go to decision? Did he get subbed? Did he get knocked out? Like, what was the deal?
UD win for Tybura.
Huh. I'm not sure, honestly. I don't really follow those two guys the most, but I would say probably Serghei. I think he's got the size and probably a little bit more like MMA knowledge now, and so I feel like he's just going to win it.
Kurt, what do you think? I do find it interesting that, Tybura wins. Granted, it was 4 years ago now, but he comes in as the underdog against Serghei. Are these odds right?
Yeah, I think so. Because a lot of times, I mean, if you go look at the record, they both fought mutual opponents, both fought and lost to Tom Aspinall. And I'm looking at Tiburia's record right now. I mean, they've all fought in good guys in UFC, and then, Spivac already has a loss to Tybura, and sometimes it's hard to beat a guy twice, especially if a fight's close. So, I'm gonna go with Spivac too.
All right. I'm actually staying away from this one. I can bet on these fights. You guys can't because you're active UFC fighters. So, but I'm staying away from this one. I could see it going either way. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to a decision. So from a betting perspective, I just don't know what to think. I'm not confident one way or the other. Your co-main event is actually Damon Jackson and Chepe Mariscal. And this is another one where I'm surprised at the odds. Damon Jackson, a plus 200 dog, Mariscal minus 235 favorite. I get it. Mariscal he's very dynamic. He's got a lot of power. I could see why he would be the favorite, but I could see it should be a little bit closer as far as the odds go, in my opinion. Kurt, let me ask you, do you feel like the Leech can spring the upset and get a submission victory here, maybe a decision win, or are you going Chepe?
No, I think so. I think Damian Jackson's pretty underrated in this fight. This is a guy that I know and I've watched fight several times, and but he's even also a guy that I've always underestimated a little bit. Every time I think he has a bad matchup, he comes out and he'll either give a great fight or get the job done. And I mean, he's fought all around. I mean, he's got a good UFC record. He's fought PFL and stuff like that. Fought a lot of good guys in and outside the UFC. And I like Chepe too, man. And I think he fought Trevor Peek, didn't he? I think he beat Trevor Peek.
You name it. He beat him UD.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have my ride with Damian Jackson on this one as a big underdog. I think he gets the job done.
What are you thinking, Brady? Do you feel like you're going Jackson, or are you leaning Chepe?
Is Chepe coming off a loss?
No, he's 3-0 in the UFC. He's beat Trevor Peek,
Okay.
Jack Jenkins, and Morgan Sherrier.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with Chep, and I'm gonna go with Chepe. I think honestly, after seeing his fights, he's good everywhere. So I don't think Damon Jackson's just gonna go out there and sub him. And then he has good cardio. Like he went up to 55 and beat Trevor Peek, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like he's just clean, and I feel like he's gonna be able to get out all the subs. I think Damon Jackson, what he does is he sometimes has a rough fight, and then he capitalizes when people make mistakes. But I don't see Chepe making any mistakes, so I feel like he's gonna win it.
I do wonder if experience will come into play here. Damon does have more experience in and out of the UFC. Granted, Mariscal has been fighting a lot of high level fighters even before he made it into the UFC. But I just wonder if some veteran gamesmanship might come into play here, and Jackson can pull out a victory. I just feel like the odds should be a little bit closer. So because of that, from a betting perspective, I would take a flyer on Damon Jackson plus 200. I wonder what that would be if he got a submission. That would go up even more. But if I was going to bet, I'd just take the plus 200 on Damon Jackson. But really interesting co-main event fight, guys. Chris Gutierrez has got a short notice opponent. He's taking on Quang Lee. I've actually been fortunate enough to interview Quang before. This is his UFC debut. He's coming in a tough spot against a veteran fighter and Gutierrez. Kurt, what do you think we're going to see here? Gutierrez should win this fight. Is he going to win the fight?
Yeah. Gutierrez is an underdog too, is it?
Minus 550 as a favorite is Gutierrez. Quang Lee's a plus 400 underdog.
Okay. Yeah, man, look, I'm gonna have to go with Chris Gutierrez. Been following him for a long time. Watched him fight Aaron Phillips. Probably Chris is a guy that I watched fight for a long time. We don't know really a whole bunch about Quag, so I got to stick with Chris Gutierrez.
Yeah. And he was supposed to fight Javid Basharat, so a very different opponent. Quang Lee stepping up. Is this just too much for a debuting fighter and Lee to beat Gutierrez, Brady?
I don't think it's gonna be good for Quang Lee. I think Gutierrez is one of the best. He's my division. I think he's a really good fighter. I think he's got really tricky style, and to take it on short notice is hard, and two, as your debut, I feel like it's also hard. Did like Quang Lee just fight outside the UFC, or is it like just off the couch, like hopping
No,
in there?
this is his debut. He's 8-0 as a pro. Let me just double check. 7-0 in LFA. He just won in April over Teal Tang, round one left hook, and I think he was supposed to fight Aaron Tao in September. So he had a fight lined up. He was in camp ready, preparing for a fight, but this is a month sooner than he was supposed to fight.
Okay, at least he was in the camp, so it's not like the biggest, weirdest thing to ever happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't think it's good for that guy. I think Gutierrez is going to go out there and probably just either get this done or put him away.
This next fight, guys, Danny Barlow and Nikolai Veterinikov. I am really, really high on Danny Barlow. This guy is an absolute savage. He's got so much power. And when he comes in to fight, he comes in to take your head off. And he's a pretty big favorite here, minus 360. Nikolai plus 295 dog. And this is his actual UFC debut. Kurt, let me ask you here first. Any reason why Danny Barlow loses this fight, or are you sold on Barlow to win?
No, I'm on Barlow to win. I watched Barlow fight his pro debut in Louisiana a couple years ago, and he fought a guy from a team that I train with a lot. So I didn't really know him until then. And after that, it's like once you see a guy, you say, "Hey, that guy's going to be good," and then he makes it to the UFC, and you keep following him. That's Danny Barlow. So yeah, I think Danny Barlow wins.
Yeah, he's an absolute beast. Brady, have you seen Danny Barlow fight yet?
I haven't. So you said this is this his debut?
No. This is Nikolai's debut in the UFC. Barlow, I think he's only 1-0 in the UFC. He came from Contender Series as well, and he's got so much power. He's 8-0 as a pro. Let me just double check here. Yeah, he's only 1-0 in the UFC. He had the round 3 victory over Josh Quinlan. He had the round 1 victory over Raheem Forrest at Contender Series. So this will be his second UFC fight.
Dang. Oh, so yeah. I don't really remember seeing any of his fights, but I mean, it doesn't sound like it's a good fight for Nikolai based on those, especially because he's undefeated and the Nikolai is just. I don't know. This card might be the card where they're bringing people in to lose. That Quang Lee with Chris Gutierrez and this guy, they're just bringing them all short notice.
I'm telling you right now, keep your eyes on Danny Barlow. So Curtin and myself are both in agreement here. I love Barlow by KO, TKO. I think this guy is really someone to keep your eyes on at welterweight. Yana Santos, Chelsea Chandler is the next one we're going to talk about. Chandler plus 123 as the underdog. Yana Santos is your favorite, minus 143 on Bet Online right now. Brady, what's your analysis here on this one?
So sorry, 1 second. I was looking up his topology. What's the fight again?
So Yana Santos and Chelsea Chandler.
Santos. That's what's his name? His wife. I think. That's a good one. I feel like the Santoses are a little bit on their way out. I feel like they're not really fighting for glory or gold. And Chelsea Chandler is actually she's big. She's coming down from 45, right? This is that girl that ran away from Dumont, right?
Yeah. The UD lost to Dumont.
Yeah, I feel like she's probably gonna win. She's just gonna have size, and I don't know. She seems hungry. She's probably gonna be upset coming off that loss. So I think she'll probably win it.
Kurt, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Santos is coming off of 3 straight losses in the UFC also, and I remember watching her fight a couple of times. I mean, she's game, man. So her coming down, I think she might have the size advantage. and Brady was in the Santo and on the way out. And normally, you know, the three sometimes it's hard to come back. I'm gonna go with Chelsea Chandler.
Yeah, and just looking at the size too, they're pretty much the same. They're both 5'8". Santos has a 68.5-inch reach, and Chandler has a 68-inch reach. So measurable is about the same. They're 1 year in age apart. So we'll see what happens. Sometimes it's tough to pick a winner in some of these female fights, especially when they're a little bit earlier in their career, or at least haven't had as many UFC fights. It's tough to get a gauge on, if someone's leaps and bounds better than the other. But I'm staying the heck away from this one from a betting perspective. Toshiomi Kazama plus 210 dog against Chump Charalampus. Gregorio minus 250 favorite. Brady, I feel pretty confident in Gregorio to win this one. Does he get it done? If so, how does he do it?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I would have loved to fight one of these dudes, but I don't think Kazama is that good. I what was he on the road to UFC, right?
Yeah.
And then he lost to what's his name?
Well, he lost to Garrett Armfield. He lost.
Yes, I knew that one, but didn't he lose in the finale of the road to the UFC too?
Let's see. He won. No, I think he won it over. I'm not even going to try and pronounce this guy's name. UD. He was in the quarterfinals that he won, and he didn't fight again after that. Or if he did, it's not on Tapology right now.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I don't think Kazama is really that good at all. So whoever he fights, I think he's going to get beat by. Honestly.
Kurt, any thoughts on this bantamweight bout?
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the guys. Brady would be much more familiar with these guys, being he has, mutual opponents with some of the guys that these guys fought. And I can't even say their name, but the guy the Kasami or whatever his name is, coming off of 2 straight losses.
Yeah, he got knocked out by Renia too. He got knocked out by Renia and he got knocked out by Garrett Armfield. So I don't think. Yeah, it's not that good of a streak. So I feel like he's going to lose.
Yeah, same.
I'm pretty bullish on Gregorio to win here. I would throw him into a parlay easy. I'm with what you're saying too, Brady. I do feel like Kazama might not be on the same level as a lot of you other guys at 135, to say the least. Carol Hossa and Pani Kianzed is next. Hossa is minus 200 favorite. Pani Kianzed plus 170 dog. Kurt, do you feel like there's going to be some dogs barking in this fight? Or are you going with the favorite in Rosa?
Once again, not very girls. Right now, I'm looking at Rosas. She lost to Irina. She's tough. She lost by decision. Lost to Norman DeMont. And Sarah McMahon. Losses in the UFC are kind of like some of the top girls in the division. Yeah. Another, like I said, it's kind of tough being that I'm not very familiar with them. But I mean, son, Raquel, man, they both had quite a few losses in the UFC, but they both fought like top quality fighters. So I don't know, man. I think this gonna kind of be a toss-up, but might go with Rosa.
I'm feeling pretty confident going with Rosa in this one. Brady, what are your thoughts?
Bro, I have no idea who these ladies are. So I'm going to stay out of this one. I'm going to go with Rosas because you said Rosas.
Okay.
Sorry.
Again, this is one of those fights too where, like, when from a betting perspective, a lot of people will watch this from a betting perspective. They want to hear, in particular, what you guys have to say about these fights. But when I see a fight that I'm unconfident about, I usually just steer clear of it if I don't know a whole lot about either fighter. I know enough to know that this really could go either way. I'm leaning Rosa, but I'm not throwing down any money on it. However, this next fight, I'm definitely throwing some money down on Carl Williams and Jonata Diniz. I love Carl Williams, minus 200 as a favorite. Diniz is your dog at plus 170. Kurt, I see you shaking your head, so you're in agreement with me. I like Carl Williams by decision or, maybe TKO. How do you think he's going to get it done?
Yeah, I like Carl too. But I don't know, maybe decision. Carl's a great guy. I know Carl fought on one of the cards that I fought on, both managed by the same manager. So I spent a little time with him, talked to him. Cool guy, good fighter. I think he gets the job done by decision.
By decision. Brady?
Yeah, I know Carl a little bit. I've seen him at the PI and stuff, so I'm gonna go with Carl. I think he's got some good grappling.
Yeah. And again, right now it looks like the line for him is actually it's moved down a little bit. So we'll see what that looks like come fight night. But I love Carl Williams in this fight. One of my locks of the card.
Yeah, and I think he's fighting a pretty good guy too, but he looks like the guy he's fighting more of a boxer. So I feel like Carl will be able to take him down and definitely control the round. If Carl does finish, I think it will definitely be by submission.
Yep. All right. Yeah, great wrestler too, Carl Williams. I know he used to train with, or at least he's good friends with Cody Durden, and Durden has talked a lot about how elite of a wrestler he is to me. So excited to see him back in the cage. This next fight too. This is another one I have circled. I love Yusuf Zalal. He's a huge favorite right now, -440 against Jarno Aarons, who's a +340 underdog. Brady, let me start with you first on this one. Zalal, he's back in the UFC now. He had a big win his last fight. He's looking to keep that ball rolling. Does he do it here? Does he beat Jarno Aarons?
Yeah, I think so. Didn't Zalal used to fight at 35?
Yes.
Dang, that's crazy. He's a big underdog in this fight.
No, he's a huge favorite, a massive. He's actually one of the bigger favorites. He might be the biggest favorite on the card, actually.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I was thinking. I think he's gonna win this for sure. I don't really know much about Jarno Aarons, but I haven't really heard too many good things about him. But Yusuf he's good. He had a good fight against Damon Blackshear. I remember that one. And he just looks solid, so I think he's gonna win it for sure.
And if you guys don't remember, Yusuf also took Ilia Topuria the distance. He lost a decision, and what people say, a lot of people say, was his toughest fight in the UFC. So goes to show you right there how tough he is. Kurt, do you feel like Zalal is the safe bet here, obviously, to get his hand raised?
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, man, you always got to look and see who these guys fought. Just because they got 3 losses in the UFC, if these are the top guys like Ilia Topuria, Sean Woodson, I mean, I don't even count that as a bad loss.
Right.
I'm definitely going to go with him.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. I'm definitely gonna do a prop bet on him to win via submission here in this one. I'll give you guys my little parlay once we get towards the end here. But one more fight to go. Talita Alensar +135 underdog against Stephanie Luciano, who's a -155 favorite. Brady, let me start with you first on this one. You going with the favorite, or are you going with Talita, the underdog in this fight?
That is a good one. I think I'll go with Talita. Is a really good grappler, isn't she?
I wish I could tell you more. All I know is she's 5-0-1 as a pro. Luciano 5-1-1. So their records are pretty even. Not a whole lot of experience here in the UFC. She's this will be her second fight in the UFC for Talita.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Talita just because I think she's the big favorite in this fight, right?
It's not a big favorite. It's pretty close as far as the odds go.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go with her. I think she's a savage grappler. I don't know how I know that. I think I watched. She was on one of the fights, but I think she's like an IBJJF world champion, and so I think she's got good grappling in it. In MMA, especially women's MMA, I feel like the jiu-jitsu comes out a lot more than in men's MMA. So I feel like she's gonna get it done.
And Kurt, this will be Luciano's UFC debut. Do you feel like she's going to get a victory here, or are you going the other direction?
No, I think I'm going to go with Talita too. I mean, she already has a win in the UFC. I think she's definitely a grappler. You can see by her Tapology page, she is competing in the IBJJF, it looks like, or a grappling tournament. So, and she's got quite a few wins by submission. So yeah, I'm going to have to go with Talita.
Yeah. And again, like I said earlier, guys, and I'm sure both of you are very, very well aware of this, even though you're not allowed to bet. When it's tough, when it's a tough fight as far as the odds go, it's really, really difficult to get a gauge on, some of these younger fighters that are in the UFC. Unless you have a lot of viral knockouts or submissions, sometimes it's really just the safest thing to stay away from it from a betting perspective. This is my parlay that I'm going with, and I've been pretty lucky lately as far as, winning some money. I got Yusuf Zalal by submission. That's plus 300. Carl Williams money line minus 205, and Danny Barlow by TKO or KO is plus 110. So if you combine those three, it's plus 1,149. $10 wins you 125. I love that. I would throw down 20 to win 250. If I was feeling frisky, maybe I'd throw down some more, but I really like all three of those plays. I definitely think all three of those guys are going to win. It just comes down to whether Yusuf wins by submission and Barlow wins by TKO. What do you guys think? Am I onto something here?
I like that. Yeah. I mean, what is $10? $10 you can just throw it and then call it a day. So I would do that. Fuck it, do 50. I bet you won't do 100.
I'll send you a screenshot of what I do, and you can
Okay.
either laugh at me when I lose or congratulate me when I win.
Yeah. There you go.
Where are you guys watching the fights this weekend? You're going to be home? Kurt, let me start with you first. Where are you going to be watching the fights, UFC Vegas 95?
Yeah, I'll probably be watching on my phone. I'll be in Pascagoula, Mississippi, doing a fight card. I got 3 guys fighting. I'll be coaching and cornering. So I'll be occupied, but we always have the fights on in the back, checking them out.
All right. And Brady, what about yourself?
I think I'm gonna go over to my buddy Mike's house, and we're gonna probably watch him there. I think he's gonna do like a little barbecue. He just built his like shop in the back, so we're gonna go over there and watch some fights.
Is that Michael Chiesa?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm on a first name basis with him as well. Yeah. I just call him Mike. I don't need to call him Michael.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go for it. Go for it. It's all good.
I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on next weekend's main event. Obviously, that's such a huge main event card for the middleweight title. Dricus du Plessis, Israel Adesanya. Please tell me who you think's going to win that main event title fight and why. Kurt, let me ask you first.
Yeah, man. Look, I like Izzy. Izzy's such a hard guy to bet against. As you see, I mean, he can lose a fight and he'll come right back and win the fight by knockout. So, yeah, and I've never been too high on du Plessis, to be honest with you. He's got some good wins, man. He's beat some good guys, but he hasn't beat Izzy yet, so I'm going to go with Izzy.
Brady, does Izzy retain his throne?
I do think so. I think it's really slick. I think he's rangy. I think du Plessis does really good about bullying people, and I feel like Izzy's good at mitigating that. Like he did really good against Paulo Costa, who's kind of like that bully style. He had a back and forth with Pierre, and Pierre is a guy that just walks you down. And so I feel like the fact that he can deal with someone as good as Pierre in that style, the only way I see him losing is if he gets wrestled, and which is possible, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Izzy's, coming back. He's hungry. He doesn't need to come back. And so if he's coming back, he's motivated for something other than just money. And so I feel like that's going to win him the fight.
Can't wait to watch that one. And again, great fight night this weekend at the Apex UFC Vegas 95. Can't wait to see both of you guys back in the octagon soon. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. And I appreciate you jumping on with me today to preview this weekend's card. Please come back and join us again at some point before the year's over.
Sounds awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Good to meet you, Kurt.
Yeah, man. You too. Good meeting you. Yep. Yeah. Right. Appreciate it, man. Always fun.